and welcome to Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond, hosted by Mark Kaler. My name is Penka Jane, podcast deckhand and longtime listener. We'd thank you to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Here's today's catch.
Hello guys, and welcome back to another installment of Galley Stories, stories of the Bering Sea and beyond. I am your host, Mark Kaler. Today we have Captain Mike Red Perry. If I just introduce him as Mike Perry, a lot of people aren't going to know who he is, but Red, everybody knows who he is. He actually captains Trident Seafood's flagship ship, the Billiken. How are you today, Mike?
Doing great.
Or Red, we better just stick with the natural, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Mike, let's just dive right into it. Where were you born and what was your first introduction into commercial fishing?
Well, I was born on the coast there in Aberdeen, Washington. And my first introduction was 19 years old on the Alaskan Enterprise.
That's a processing boat?
Yep, catcher processor.
What was your responsibilities, or what was your first job on there?
Well, I was a processor, and we worked on the boat in Seattle, and then we sailed to Dutch Harbor and out to the Bering Sea there for tanners, actually, that first winter.
How long were you out?
Oh, I don't know. We went out for in and out of town, for a couple weeks at a time, and it was a 3-month voyage.
So for a 19-year-old kid leaving Washington, Seattle,
yeah.
How was that first experience riding up to Alaska?
The ride was fine. I didn't understand being seasick, but I was. I got used to it, but that was a different experience, and the ride was fine. The work was probably the hardest I ever worked in my life.
What was your job on the line?
Well, we were butchering, packing, the usual. We pretty much, the processors did everything. We butchered and packed and, worked in the freezer and pretty much did it all. And then I didn't process that long. I probably processed for, maybe a couple weeks. Somebody got hurt on deck or got sick of it. And I started doing bait on deck. Then somebody came in and asked me, and I said, sure, I'll go out there. So...
Is that where the hard work started, or
well,
it started downstairs first?
That's where the hard work started, was out on deck there. That's when it was, what did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us some of the details. What did you get yourself into?
Well, I was doing bait, and we were getting lots of junk, and we didn't have a sorting table back then. We sorted out of a tote. So we would dump the pot into the totes and fishing. We were fishing barred eye, and we were fishing right there outside Dutch. So we were getting a lot of barred eye and opies mixed, and we would take the totes and sort out of the totes. And then if we weren't done with the tote by the time the next pot showed up, then we just dump it in the middle of the deck, and then. By the time that string was over, we'd usually have a nice pile of crab to work on. Mm-hmm. And so we work was just it was a 20-hour a day work day. We usually worked 20s and 4s on sleep shifts, and
20 on, 4 off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was my first winter experience, and it was okay because we all made money, and when you're that age, your mind has a way of forgetting how hard it really was until you go back.
You get back home with that wad of cash.
Exactly. I got home and I think I had $15,000 in my pocket, and shit. Back in 1982, that was a lot of money for a kid. So I thought I was rich.
What'd you buy? What's the first thing?
Well, I went and bought a car. Yeah, I went and bought myself a car because I didn't have the car I did have. I gave to my brother, and so.
What was the car?
The car was a 76 LTD2, 2-door. Yeah, it was a dandy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, It was a nice little car. I put some Kragers on it, and some glass packs, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So, how long before you decided that was going to be it? You were going to go back?
Well, I went home that winter and played around for the spring, and before I knew it, they were doing start tendering up in Alaska there, and they called me and said, "Time to go." Okay. Got a plane ticket, and away I went. I didn't even know what I was in for again until I got up to Iv'e, landed on the beach with a little airplane, and they skiffed me back out to the boat there, and we were processing.
So,
yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah. So you were tendering, and obviously this boat was a processor, so you're actually...
Yeah, we were processing salmon. They had a boat called the Express next to us, and we were putting all the product on the Express, and we were processing salmon.
Yeah. Were you still a deckhand?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you kept that spot?
Yeah. No. I was working on deck. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how was that experience different from your first season at Gravin?
Well, it was 12 on and 12 off, so it wasn't so grueling. And so we had a little more fun doing it.
Not quite as cold.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as cold, and we had there was a little more off time, so it was a little more fun, but it was okay.
How long did you end up on that boat?
I was on Alaska until probably 87 or 8, probably 88. I think I got on the Westward Wind.
6 years.
Yeah, I worked on deck on the boat, and then I actually did a little engineering on there and mating, and then I ran it in 86. I was pretty young too. I was just a kid, and because
I put you at 25.
Yeah, I was like 23 the first time I ran it. First summer I ran it, I think it was 23. It was just a weird situation. The captain got sick and had to go home, and I was mating for him, and Francis didn't have anybody else, Francis asked Dick, his kid, he asked him, who's on a boat that can steer it? And Dick told him, well, Red's on there, and so that was it. I took the boat for the rest of the summer, and I had a good engineer, I had an experienced engineer, so I didn't have to worry about the engine room. And I got some guys that I worked on deck with that were mating for me, so we did okay. It was beginner's luck. I got out there and...
Were you nervous?
Oh, I was a wreck. It was just a complete wreck. But when you're that age, you never really sleep. You're on adrenaline the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a good experience because I got lucky. The crabs started biting, and we started catching crab, and I didn't have to freak too bad about catching them. We just had to get them down the hatch, process them up, and we delivered in St. Matthew there.
Oh.
Yeah, we delivered one trip in St. Matthew, and then we brought the next trip home to Dutch Harbor there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you guys should Google St. Matthew. That's the...
Yeah, St. Matthews, that's a long ways up there. That's, back then in the summer, we used to fish opies up into, April, May. So
how long was that season when you? That
season started January and ended in the guys, we used to catch a quota sometime around May. Those were good sized quotas. I don't remember how big they were, but they lasted a while. We fished all the way up to May or maybe even 1st of June. I don't remember, but it was late. The sun would be out all day long. I mean, it'd barely get dark, so it had to be getting close to summer.
And then you drove the boat back down to Dutch?
I took it back down to Dutch, yep. And then the next season, the captain was feeling better, so the next winter we came up. He drove the boat for a little bit, and then he just, I don't know, one day he said, no, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm going home. Bought his own boat. He works on the coast. He works on the coast now. Francis's boy there, Ron. But yeah, no, it was. So then I took the boat from then on. 86. I think the winter of 86. I took it from then on. I was young, and we were all just young. I remember delivering to the Western Pioneer boats, and they'd call us the Adolescent Enterprise. Because I had a bunch of kids on the deck, and they all had mohawks, and I was young, and everybody was just a bunch of kids, but we caught crab. We did all right.
Wait, did you say you had a mohawk?
No, the guys did. The guys on deck did. We'd pull up to the freighter, and they'd just be like, "Oh my goodness." Yeah, no, it was pretty funny. But
so you said you ran that for the next number of years.
Yep, I was there till I think it was like '88, and we were experimenting with some long lining on the boat and stuff, and Walt Casta was looking for someone to take the westward wind, and so Francis asked me if I wanted to do something like that, and I said, well, sure. Am I going to come back here for crab? And I didn't know how that was going to work. I was kind of scared because I was born and raised on Alaskan, so it's the only boat I really knew. And
what's the difference?
So just the different boats. I knew that boat like the back of my hand. I knew the engine room, and I knew everything. Everything. And when you get on a new boat, you don't. It's a little uncomfortable at first, but Craig Santis was running the westward wind, and he showed me the whole boat, and and the engineer walked around with me too, and I got to know that boat too. And
was that a catcher processor as well?
Yes, we were catching and processing on there too, and I took it for long lining, and we went out west, did some black cod. We didn't do very well. Crabbers tried to long line. We were greenhorns. We just didn't know what we were doing. Lost a bunch of gear. I've learned a lot since then, but yeah, we didn't know what we were doing. After that, Francis asked me what I thought of the boat, and I said, shit, I love it. I mean, the Westward Wind is just a Cadillac. So, and they had a brand new house on it, and he asked me what I thought. I said, this shit is nice boat. I like it. He says, well, what do you think about taking it, and letting another guy have the Alaskan? And I said, sure, I'll take it crab fishing. And so after that, I stayed on that boat for next probably 4 or 5 years, 6 years maybe. Mm-hmm. I was on it for a while. Westward Wind was really, when it comes to a ride, you just can't beat these big schooners. They're nice rides.
Mm-hmm. How long was she?
She's 160.
Oh yeah, big girl.
Yeah, it's a. They put 30 feet into it when Arctic Alaska went public. They ended up putting 30 feet into it and putting a bunch of work to it. Well, they had to put the house on it. That's what they did. They had a fire. And they put a new house on it, and then they added 30 feet to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you go after her?
Then I ended up on the Royal Enterprise. I was on the Royal for a couple, 3 seasons.
Also a catcher processor?
Yep. Royal Enterprise was a catcher processor. It was a big one.
So when did you start coming back down to smaller boats?
After that I ended up after the Royal Enterprise in the 90s, I ended up on, Francis sold Arctic Alaska, and he was dabbling around with boats like the Mr. B and those boats, and so I jumped in '98. I jumped on the Mr. B with him, and we crab fished it, cod fished it.
It's funny you say that because I was on the Mr. B in 1993.
Okay.
Or 94, maybe
Before.
94. Yeah. So
you were on there?
Yeah.
When they were down in Africa, maybe, or no?
No. We were in Bristol Bay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that was my second boat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was on the Mr. B for probably 5 years. That was 5 years. It was quite an experience.
Have you seen her lately?
Yeah, I have. It sounds like they redid it again.
Now she's the Glacier Bay, I think is what her
That boat's been retroed so many times.
It looks like a Cadillac now.
No, it was when after we had it, in I think right around 2000, Francis sold it to Glacier Fish, and they made a longliner out of it. And then and I actually sailed on the boat as the mate for longlining, and then I ran it for a short while, longlining, and I just didn't care for it, so So I went back to crabbing, but yeah, no, the boat. I guess they took all the longline equipment back off of it, and now it's a processor again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it looks great. It was a heck of a sea boat. We had it over in. We fished it in the Gulf for those red crab, deep sea red crab. We longlined pots out there, and then we ended up on the East Coast out of Norfolk, out of Virginia there.
So did you go through the Panama Canal on her?
Yes, I didn't take the boat through. I didn't take the boat down there, but a friend of mine took the boat around, and then I jumped on it when we got down there.
Have you been able to make that pass through there?
I did. When the boat came back, when it came back, I took it back around there through there, and it was quite an experience. That was pretty crazy.
That seems to be absolutely everyone's bucket list.
Yes. Yeah. So the canal was quite an experience. I never seen nothing like it. I mean, they put little locomotives on you and drag you through there.
Pretty cool.
Pilot was cool. He'd come on the boat, and it was all right. It was quite an experience. We before that though, before we took the boat back around, we spent some time. We tried the red crab over there, and then we didn't know what to do with the boat, because then NIMS put limits on us over there during that red crab fishery. So we ended up taking the boat and going to Newfoundland. We ended up on the Grand Banks because we knew there were some opies over there, and so we were going to fish some opies. We were going to go outside international waters and fish opies on the Grand Banks. Try it anyway. Yeah, we so we went over and did some prospecting. And as soon as I saw it, when I got over there, as soon as I got out of that warm water and started seeing the cool water, I could tell, because it was greener, it had some algae in it, and I thought, this looks good. This looks like Bering Sea water. So we started dumping gear, and there was opies there. We ended up seeing some opies, and they were nice opies. But like I said, Canada had a different idea. They didn't like us out there, so they got mad at us and drug us into St. What is that town over there? St. John, and we spent a week in litigation there at St. John, or 2 weeks.
With crab on board? With
crab on board, and they ended up taking the crab, and we settled out, and they let us go, and we settled out of court. And it was just don't do that again. And they really didn't have the jurisdiction to not let us fish out there, but it would have been a court battle, and Francis didn't want to do it. So
fishing in my waters.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he already had the insurance company. This is a wrongful seizure, and he was going to give him the boat. He said, "You guys can have the boat. I'll just call the insurance company." And so they didn't want the boat. They're like, "No, we don't want the boat." So they let us go, and we ended up having to go back over there and go to court. And it was no big deal.
Yeah.
It was just, don't do that again. Okay. Whatever.
Okay.
But it was okay. So anyway, then we brought the boat back, and that's when we went in the shipyard and gussied up a little bit, and then headed back around through the canal there. And then Glacier Fish took it over from there.
Did you stay with it?
I stayed with it for a little bit, and then I bailed on them. Ended up at Blue North after that. That was like 2004. Yeah. I think 2004 I took the Blue North for Blue North Fisheries there. We went crab fishing, and then I ran their longliners for a little bit. I was running the Blue Two for a little bit, the Blue Pacific, and I ended up with some just marital issues, and kids were looking to have a parent at home, so Mike and Pat at Blue North there, they were gracious enough to give me a job in the office, and I went home and spent 4 years in their office at home taking care of
What's a guy like you do in an office?
I was their government affairs officer, and
from all that experience you got there in Canada.
I don't know what it was. Yeah, right. I don't know what it was, but it it was nice to have the boat experience, and then be in the office to see the other end of it, the other clerical end and all the logistic stuff and the governmental stuff, the NIMS and Coast Guard stuff and all the permitting. I did all the permitting for the boats and all that stuff, and it was a good experience actually. And Mike and Pat were, they were good to me because I needed a job to be home, with the kids, and so it worked out okay. Yep, it was a good experience. Learned a lot.
Well, obviously you came back. We're sitting in St. Paul.
Yeah. No, I tried another job. I ended up leaving Blue North, and I went to Westport. Tried another job in a plant I was going to help manage, and that didn't work out. And then a good buddy of mine, Jim England, he called me one day and said he has a deal in Argentina, and he needs a captain for a crab boat. And okay, I said, sign me up. I'll do her. So
then you called to Argentina.
So then I went to Argentina, and that was an experience in itself. It was
How are the crab there, and what species?
Well, we were fishing king crab, and they're a smaller species, but they taste the same. But we had refitted Russian trawlers. I think they were about 170 footers, something like that. And we were long lining with them. And it worked out pretty good. I was impressed. Jim set up most of it. And he set up the one boat, and then when they had another boat they're putting together, I got involved with it and helped them put together.
Now what year was this?
This would have been 2009.
Okay.
When I went down there. 2010, maybe 2010 I went down there. And that was a great experience.
Still a U.S. crew, or was it?
When I first went down there, we had myself, and I had a mate, and I had a factory foreman, and I believe there was a couple of deckhands. So there was like maybe 5 of us on the boat, and then the rest of the 20 guys were Argentinians.
Yeah, sometimes I've heard, and I haven't fished overseas anywhere, but sometimes I've heard you have to have a percentage of your crew be local.
Yes. Oh no, these were Argentinian flagged boats, so they had a master and a mate and engineers and all that stuff on there too. They had all the officers they needed, and we were just more or less advisors. And then I ran the boat for the fishing part of it. I ran it for the fishing part of it.
Okay.
And so we were more or less advisors, and but over really the authority was with the Argentinian captain. And if he got nervous about anything, then I would explain to him what we're doing. And, if he started getting nervous, if the weather come up, sometimes he'd be like, "Whoa, dude, you all right?" And I go, "Yeah, we're okay."
This isn't bad.
I said, "Are you scared?" And he's like, "Well, maybe."
Maybe a little
I go,
bit.
"Well, we'll slow down then. We'll slow down a little bit, and maybe we'll take a little break here later." But I think the guys are fine.
We'll take a break later.
As long as we can keep the guys with, as long as we can keep them safe, and there's no waves coming over the rail, they're okay. As long as we tie things down, and everything's gonna be all right. But we shared the responsibility, and they're good guys. Those guys were great crews. I mean, we had a lot of fun. We'd come to town and do repairs for 3-4 days, at a time. And holy crumb, we'd have a lot of fun.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We met a lot of nice people, and yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just a little alarm going off there.
Yeah, it's no biggie. It's probably an alarm for the tank there. He's pumping it out.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was a good experience. I was down there for, on and off for 4 years, and they paid us well, and we caught lots of crab. I remember one year I think we put up 2,500 tons of king crab.
Wow.
Between the boats. Yeah, we put up a lot of crab.
How do they treat their fishery? I mean, up here in Alaska, it's sustainable. I mean, it's very well regulated, and quotas obviously. How did you find it over there?
Well, I did deal with some of their regulators, and they work hard at it to make it sustainable, and to monitor the quota. But there's a little, there's a little corruption, I think, involved in there, with the politics and everything. And so, a few guys got their hands out once in a while, and so that gets expensive for the companies. And so that makes it difficult to, for them to make money if they're constantly having to pay for things. But generally, overall, we had observers on the boats, and they're watching the fishery. There's no doubt about it. They definitely watched what we put up for quota, and they work on it. It's just not quite as regimented as we have it, but they definitely have a board of fisheries, and they watch it. Yeah.
So how did you get back on this side?
So that was coming to an end. So we had 5 guys or so on the boat, 5 or 6 guys, and slowly they dwindled us down. They said, well, we don't need your deck guys, because our deck guys know what they're doing. And and I agreed. Their deck guys learned quick. They were, those guys were perfectly capable of doing the job that my guys were doing after they figured it out. And everybody was on the same page. So they got rid of the deck hands, and then the next year we got rid of some of the other process guys that we didn't need, and before we knew it, we had 1 factory foreman and myself. So there was just 2 of us on the boat.
So pretty soon someone figured out the factory foreman
spot.
spot.
Yeah, somebody, eventually the factory foreman, he was done, and in the end I was by myself, which was fine because I knew all the guys, and it was still a good gig, and then they ended up selling the company. A company named Batonicos had the company, and they ended up selling it, and to some outfit in, I think, Venezuela or maybe Peru. I forget who bought it. Some Peruvians, I think, bought it. But anyway, the company that had it, they were great people. They were excellent. Never, always paid on time, and they were a good bunch of guys. The guys that had the company, Bentonicos. Yeah. And then after that, one trip they said, well, this is it. I don't think we're going to need you after this. They're going to do it on their own. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, no problem. I got on the phone with Christian.
I tried it.
Yeah, Christian was a Trident there, and Christian and I had worked together, at Arctic Alaska years and years ago, and we stayed in touch. And he said, let me poke around. Let's see what I can find. And the first year on here, I ran it for tendering. And, and then things just unfolded from there pretty much. I ended up, the fella that was on here just ended up retiring, and so it worked out.
So here you are.
Nice boat. Yeah, it's a
Cadillac.
Oh no, this is a nice boat. It's a really nice boat. It needed a little TLC, but we've been working on it.
You're coming up on 30 years then.
Yes. No, I've been doing this since '82. Yeah. So 34 years.
Working it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that time, can you recall your scariest experience?
My scariest experience was probably back in the Alaskan Enterprise days. We were fishing Opies, and we were fishing up around a 58 line, I remember, and it was a very cold winter. I forget what year it was. It's probably maybe 87. And we had been fishing for about a week and a half, and we were getting full. And the ice was horrible. I mean, we were just stacking ice on the boat. It just wicked cold. And we were getting close to going and delivering, and we were bucking into it, and I looked down on the bow, and the friggin' water wasn't running off the bow. It was, the Alaskan Enterprise got a huge bow on it. The water was coming over the bow, and it was laying up there, and it was going back and forth, and I was like, whoa, that don't look good. It wasn't draining off the bow. And so then I realized that we were heavy on the nose, just from all the ice, and so I freaked. Everybody got up. I got everybody up. What had happened is the ice had built up by the stairs back there, and actually blocked the way for the water to get out.
So you had a big tub up there.
There's a big tub up there, yeah, and it was just crazy. It was just more ice than I thought we were actually gathering. It was building so fast that we couldn't keep up with it. So yeah, we got everybody up, turned the boat around, and ran with it for, I don't know, probably took us about 4 or 5 hours to get that. And I had a big crew on the boat, and everybody got up, and we chipped all the whole bow off and everything back there up by the wheelhouse there and everything, and that was probably my scariest moment, because then I realized that we were getting compromised, with stability, because the boat felt weird too. It just felt really heavy, and I just didn't realize it till I saw that water laying up there, and I went, whoa,
yeah,
this is not good.
You're the guy responsible.
Yeah, no, I was, and I just didn't realize how much ice we had up there, but
ice takes a lot of boats.
Yes, and
we just lost one a few weeks ago.
Yeah, no, it's so dangerous, and since then I've learned over the years that you just don't do it, So I've learned over the years that it's not worth it. You just chip it off, and if you can't chip it off, you go find cover. Get out of there. So,
what has fishing given you that you probably wouldn't have had if you didn't choose this? But what have you gained from it?
Well, gain a work ethic. We know how to work. That's for sure. And I don't know. Of course, it's been a sustainable living for years.
It's got lots of.
Yeah, I think he lost a generator. I don't know what happened. What's going on there? I think he's running that little forward generator, so I don't know what happened. But yeah, I don't know. Gives you, there's a satisfaction in going fishing. You get to go home and relax,
Yeah, what do you do with your off time?
Yeah, we just, I don't know. You go find. Sometimes you go find a warm spot to sit.
Got enough of the cold.
Yeah, sometimes you want to go do that, or sometimes you want to go spend some time with the kids and stuff. So we both have grandkids now. So we got some grandkids, and we go spend some time with them and do some playing.
How long do you see yourself doing this?
Well, that's a good question, because it comes up now and again with me and my wife. We talk about it all the time now. So we've
You guys talk about it, or she talks about it?
She talks about it, and so I think about it. So yeah, I think, I don't know. I think we're just trying to get enough. You got to get enough money stacked away so you think you can retire.
Yeah.
And we've been working on it. Probably, I don't know. I can see me doing it into my probably early 60s, maybe. Maybe do some tendering in my golden years.
You bet. A little vacation. I want to take the wife out tendering.
Yeah, exactly. No, we can do some tendering. I don't know how long I'll be crab fishing, but the tendering's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun tendering. Yeah, we'll see.
What advice would you have for young guys trying to get into the industry?
Oh boy, it's a tough fishery for the young guys now. It's I don't know. They can still make a good living. Just keep their nose to the grindstone and don't go from boat to boat. Get on a boat and stick it out and work your way up the ladder. That's what I would tell the guys, because I see a lot of guys bouncing around from boat to boat. That's hard because you're always learning, a new rig, and it's easier if you stay on the same boat and learn it. And once you get the experience as maybe an engineer, or maybe do some mating or do some driving on the boat, then you can go to another boat and makes you more valuable. But
who can steer the boat?
Yeah, who can steer the boat? Exactly. That's what he said to Dick. That's what Dick told me anyway. Mm-hmm. Who's on there that can steer that thing?
We'll probably wrap it up here, Red. We got lots of noises happening. He's currently sitting here on the Billiken offloading his Opelio crab in St. Paul, Alaska. Probably a couple more hours and he'll be done.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back out there and see if we can get these things caught and get back home eventually.
Is the boat going back home this?
No, the boat will not go home. We'll be tied up in Dutch.
Okay.
And then
we'll get a plane ride.
Yep, we'll take a plane home this time and tie the boat up in Dutch and come back up for tendering here in June.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. It covers it.
Well, thanks for taking the time to sit down
Absolutely.
and tell the story. All right, guys. That's been another installment of Galley Stories, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Galley Stories. We hope you like what the net brought in. Please leave us a review on iTunes, whether you like it or not. We're not fishing for compliments. Look us up on Facebook and Twitter too, and reach out to us at galleystories@gmail.com.